and welcome to Eagle News International Australia Oceania. I am Dwight Albert Baloloy from Melbourne, bringing you stories from Australia, New Zealand and Papua New Guinea. These are the headlines. Metro Melbourne's lockdown ends after months of tight restrictions. Teachers in New South Wales share perspective on school situation during pandemic. Queensland residents brace for wild weather season. National Rugby League Grand Finals pushes through in Sydney. Church of Christ in Australia reaches out to student visa holders through Aid to Humanity. Filipinos in Tauranga City, New Zealand celebrate Labor Day holiday through sports. Townsville's Castle Hill walking tracks gain popularity among fitness enthusiasts. And Papua New Guinea preserves traditional cooking with earth pit oven. We begin with some good news on the COVID-19 situation in Australia's state of Victoria. The wait for lockdown freedom is over for the Victorians with the easing of coronavirus restrictions from Metro Melbourne. The state, which had the toughest restrictions in the country, is now allowing residents to leave their homes for any reason. Let's find out more on these new changes from our Melbourne correspondent Darryl Castillejo. Darryl?
The people of Metro Melbourne give a collective sigh of relief as they received the long-awaited news regarding the lockdown restriction. On a press conference held on October 26, Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews announced the end of the city's lockdown after over 4 months of tight restrictions. Starting from Wednesday, October 28, several restrictions have been lifted as Melbourne began to open up once again. Here are the details. On a press conference held on October 26, Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews announced the end of the city's constricted 4-month-long lockdown. On October 28, the third step in the roadmap to COVID normal initiated. People were now allowed to leave their homes beyond the 4 essential reasons. Outdoor gatherings were no longer limited to 2 households, and visitors were now permitted once a day. Households are now able to gather with a maximum of 10 people excluding infants. Home visits are allowed with 2 adults including their dependents. However, 1 person from a household will be considered as a whole household. Same visitors will not be able to have other people on the same day. The 25-kilometer travel radius is in practice. Social distancing and the use of facial masks also remains. Working from home is still advised. Business owners rejoice as the reopening of all retails and hospitality venues have been confirmed. Cafes, pubs, and restaurants are now able to seat a limited number of patrons while adhering to the COVID-safe plans. 50 people are allowed to be seated outdoors while a limit of 20 people are allowed indoors. Other retail such as beauty and personal care services were also able to resume. Given that there is a steady low case count, November 8 is when Melbourne furthermore eases restrictions. The 25-kilometer travel radius will be expunged. The border between Melbourne and regional Victoria to fall off. The limit of 20 people seated indoors will be extended to 40 people. The 50 people outdoors limit will also be extended to 70 people outdoors. Gyms and indoor fitness will also be reopening, following strict guidelines, while accommodations will also reopen in time for the holidays. Following these announcements, Daniel Andrews congratulates the people in Metro Melbourne for their continuous effort and hard work in fighting the virus and the difficulties it has brought. In saying that, Mr. Andrews continues to remind the public to be cautious and to make sure to keep safe with their newfound freedom, as plans to reach COVID normal by December is in sight. Reporting from Melbourne, Australia, this is Darryl Castillejo's Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Darryl. We are so glad that Victoria is on its way to COVID recovery. Meanwhile, in Sydney, the COVID-19 crisis has seen teachers alter the usual teaching methods in an effort to keep students motivated to learn and adapt to online learning. Let's hear more on this story from our Sydney correspondent, Raylene Quinto. Raylene?
2020 has been a year of uncertainty and disappointment for many people around the world. Healthcare professionals have been working tirelessly around the clock to help fight the pandemic from spreading around the country. But what about teachers?
Teachers have been the front line for education during the pandemic. Teachers have quickly moved to bring classrooms online and have found unique and fun ways to keep students across Australia engaged in their learning. This is what working as a teacher during the coronavirus pandemic has been like for Christine Marin, a high school English teacher from Sydney, New South Wales.
So what was it like working face-to-face at an education facility when COVID-19 hit Australia?
Oh, well, to be honest with you, it was quite daunting because on the news we constantly hear the different statistics, the increasing number of people who have contracted COVID-19, and it was getting closer and closer to the workplace, getting closer to home. So it's quite daunting. On top of that, we had a lot of my colleagues. Some of them are high risk. So at first they could work at home, which was lovely. But then, as the government started to adjust the criteria for who could stay at home, a lot of them had to return back to the workplace. Some of them are still very frightened and still haven't returned to the workplace. So at this point are still taking leave without pay. Generally, it's a huge struggle for those people who are experiencing that. Yeah, overall it was quite daunting.
Wow, that's quite frightening to hear about that. So how do you think your students have adapted to the ongoing changes faced due to COVID-19?
Honestly, I think a lot of them have adapted pretty well. But mostly those who were already quite tech literate, those who had fluency with technology. Some even developed that skill, which was amazing. But unfortunately, there'll always be a few students who will struggle with that. Some of them don't necessarily have equal access to technology, so they're not familiar with the platforms. They're not familiar with using the for example, a family might have one computer, so they have limited use, limited access to it. So they're not as familiar with the technology, and therefore have limited access, limited experience with it, and unfortunately they don't keep up with the rest of their classmates, which is unfortunate.
While the coronavirus pandemic brought about a period of uncertainty and disappointment to many people around the world, the rapid shift seen across education has clearly shown us how education might be reconceptualized in the future. It is clear that the pressure placed on teachers is extensive and, unfortunately, often left unspoken.
We are grateful to hear the first-hand experience of a high school teacher from Sydney, New South Wales, further showcasing how she adapted to the never-ending changes of education and teaching during these unprecedented times. From Sydney, Australia, this is Raylene Quinto, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Raylene, for sharing what it's like to teach in this pandemic year. Moving on to Queensland, the current spring and upcoming summer season implies the onset of wild weather months, anticipating more damaged storms, heavy rains, and even flash floods to happen. Here's our Brisbane correspondent, Raylene Xavier, to fill us with the latest on Queensland weather. Raylene?
Weather agencies in Queensland have announced that the state will experience severe thunderstorms, specifically in southeast Queensland. In the city of Brisbane, locals have already witnessed damaging winds, large hailstones, and heavy rainfall. The commencement of the storm season has brought severe thunderstorms, lightning, hailstones, and record rainfall to the southeastern localities here in Queensland. According to the Bureau of Meteorology, a second consecutive thunderstorm may bring over 50 millimeters of rain, as predicted to see more storms by the end of October. The Bureau of Meteorology also warned that the intense rainfall could lead to potential dangerous flash floods. Residents in high-risk areas are advised to take precautions as the storm is said to last the entire season. Several parts of Queensland South were also struck by a sleet of 4 to 5 centimeter hailstones that settled in the backyard of locals, creating a snow-like sheet of hail. Local authorities have advised residents to stay informed with weather updates in the event of emergency. Get Ready Queensland, the state government's incessant program in helping all Queenslanders prepare for natural disasters, published the proper protocol for emergency preparedness. The Get Ready plan in situations of extreme weather are as follows. Have an emergency and evacuation plan, pack your emergency kit, and make sure you're covered. Queenslanders continue to brace themselves for a season of stormy weather. Thus, getting ready and planning ahead will help ensure everyone's safety this season. Reporting from Brisbane, Queensland, this is Raylene Rose Javier, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Many thanks, Raylene, for the tips to help Queenslanders be storm ready. Now back in Sydney, Australia is a sport-loving nation, and one of their favorites is the National Rugby League. The 2020 Rugby League Grand Final between Penrith Panthers and Melbourne Storm was recently held at Sydney's ANZ Stadium, purposely built for the Sydney 2000 Olympics. So who emerged triumphant? Our Eagle News correspondent Morgan Goodfellow will fill us with the game results. Morgan?
The season-ending bout between Melbourne Storm and Penrith Panthers at ANZ Stadium, Sydney, kicked off Sunday evening, gathering thousands of fans to watch the best battle it out for the NRL 2020 Premiership. NRL, or National Rugby League, is one of Australia's top-level competitive entertainment events, which has held its ground since 1908. A game which is built on the strengths of discipline, positivity and unity, consisting of two 40-minute halves, where teams from all over Australia would compete to lay claim as Australia's best. Even with the isolation that was in place, it didn't stop fans from attending the event. More than 50,000 masks were distributed to those attending the event at ANZ Stadium. Stadium staff were at each entrance supplying free masks, preparing for the Melbourne Storm and Penrith Panthers grand final. Precautions, such as not being able to leave designated seats unless purchasing food, beverages, or using restrooms, were put in place along with many COVID-19 marshals assigned to ensure safety. On entry, attendees had their temperatures checked while also being asked to check in by scanning QR codes and registering for the event individually. 50% of the stadium's capacity would see the event complying with New South Wales government restrictions, maximising the venue at only half its regular attendance. Fans were unable to purchase merchandise from any of the stores located inside the stadium to avoid congestion, along with being asked to attend early in respect to extra precautions. The first half into the final clash between Melbourne Storm and Penrith Panthers saw Melbourne Storm with the upper hand, having a 22-0 lead. By the end of the nail-biting 80 minutes, Melbourne Storm would continue to hold their lead, becoming NRL's champions for 2020. Reporting from Townsville, Australia, this is Morgan Goodfellow, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Morgan, and congratulations to Melbourne Storm for bagging the NRL Championship. After the break, we will hear more on the Church of Christ members in Australia reaching out to student visa holders through the Aid to Humanity event. Also, let's take a look at Townsville's Castle Hill walking tracks as they gain popularity among fitness enthusiasts. Plus, the Filipino community in Tauranga City, New Zealand enjoys Labor Day holiday through sports. And let's discover Papua New Guinea's traditional cooking with an earth pit oven. All these stories when Eagle News International Oceania returns. Stay with us.
Hello there. Imagine Dami got the virus and she infected two more. And those two infected a lot more of people. And it goes on and on until it became an epidemic. But what if Dami stayed at home? Then those two wouldn't have contracted the virus. Then those people would have not been infected. This is not just your battle, it's everyone's, and you can be a huge help. Follow social distancing, or better yet, stay at home.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News International, Australia, Oceania. With international students unable to access government assistance during the COVID-19 crisis, community and church groups have stepped up to help. Members of the Iglesia ni Cristo or Church of Christ have provided the much-needed assistance to student visa holders through the Aid to Humanity program. To share more of this story, here's our Sydney correspondent Justin Vicente. Justin?
With the struggles many international student visa holders are facing during the coronavirus pandemic, the Iglesia ni Cristo or Church of Christ aims to provide relief. The church members unitedly supported this endeavor by donating care packages, giving financial help, and spreading positivity. International students living and studying in Metro Sydney and Metro Brisbane in Australia expect to have a safe and rewarding experience. However, the onset of the coronavirus outbreak brought many students severe financial hardship. The reduction of working hours and even loss of jobs has worried international students on how their needs can be met. To alleviate the strain on these students, members of the Church of Christ conducted the Aid to Humanity project, an initiative to do good to those who need it. With this objective, church members unitedly prepared care packages to give to these international student visa holders.
Yeah, it has affected us a lot, especially for us, since we're international students, we're far from home. And yeah, like we do part-time jobs, but then with the lockdown and everything, like we can't do that. So it's been really hard. Well, other than the financial struggle, there's also the emotional struggle as well, because my family is far from me and like I kind of need that emotional support as well. So yeah, I think that was more of a struggle than the financial one.
Included in these care packages are everyday essentials such as grocery food and toiletries, giving slight relief to the students by lessening their stress and giving them hope in humanity. Furthermore, a substantial monetary donation was given by the Church of Christ to the New South Wales State of Emergency Service.
Okay, what we had today is Aid to Humanity, which is not only in our district, but it is something that was simultaneously done as part of the birthday celebration of our executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. They lead the entire church in extending help to those who are in need, especially during these times. That is why, if you have noticed, particularly the people who are we helping right now, first, those who are student visa holders, that we know they are the ones vulnerable whenever there are situations like this. Australia entered recession, the effect of the pandemic, and these people, they do not have permanent source of income, and they are greatly affected by the situation. So by helping them, we know we are fulfilling God's command, and also we are helping the Blacktown City Council voluntary unit, that is the SES, which is the State Emergency Service.
The donations by the Church of Christ received by the international students in the state of emergency is being hoped to spark inspiration and spread positivity. Reporting from Sydney, Australia, this is Justine Vicente, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Justin, for that inspiring story. A few days back, New Zealand commemorated Labor Day, a public holiday that gave them time off from work and spent time with family and friends. Members of the Church of Christ in Tauranga City hosted a bowling tournament joined by fellows from the Filipino community. Let's hear more from Eagle News correspondent Francisca Espiritu. Francisca?
Today in New Zealand is Labor Day, and since it is a public holiday, many people across the country found ways to spend their time in a meaningful yet productive means. Among them are Filipinos, in particular Iglesia ni Cristo members or Church of Christ in Tauranga City. The conduct of a bowling tournament led by the members of the Church of Christ encourages unity and camaraderie amongst the community locals. The sports event promotes establishing closer ties of Filipino families coming from different age groups. As church members led this recreational activity, they further demonstrate their unity in this collective endeavor. Many can be seen having fun and enjoying the Labor Weekend holiday with friends and family.
Unang-una sa lahat po ay nagpapasalamat po kami sa at sa ating po kapamahalang pangkalahatan sa ganito po mga aktibidad na kanilang inilulog sa kaisa po kami dito sa Tauranga GWS sa kanila po mga pagpapasigla sa mga kapatid.
Time passes by so quickly when you're having fun. Such an activity promotes quality time, able to unwind and spend memorable moments with family and friends. Reporting from Tauranga City, New Zealand, I'm Francisca Espiritu. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Francisca. It's great to see communities join together. Back in Australia, there's no denying that walking is one of the easiest exercises we can do to strengthen our physical and mental health. In Townsville, fitness enthusiasts hike around Castle Hill, a favorite walking spot for locals, especially during the current pandemic. Let's find out more from Eagle News correspondent Laura Kate Solomon. Laurie?
Townsville's Castle Hill walking tracks rise in popularity as health becomes more of a priority in the community. Castle Hill offers more than 10 various walking tracks, which is estimated to be visited by 2,500 times a day, making it one of the most popular exercise spots in Townsville. Castle Hill is a 286-meter high-rise, which stands in the center of Townsville. With its central position, it dominates the city's skyline, providing majestic 360-degree views of the city and its surroundings. The journey to the top is worth it, particularly when witnessing the sunrise or sunset. Have a camera handy, for these are exceptional photo opportunities. The hill holds historical significance as it is both a heritage-listed and an isolated pink granite monolith. In addition, an observation bunker that dates back to World War II is situated in the corner of the hill, reminding visitors of the military history. More locals visit the hill as a way to get fit and active. Trails ranging from the circular road with 3.3 kilometers one way to the extensive GO tracks, up to the difficult trail of Dianella Track. Castle Hill is a great place to work out for any fitness level. Facilities including car parking, public amenities, drink fountains, and shaded seating are also accessible for public use. Amidst the pandemic, Townsville City Council continues to ensure the safety of locals. The popularity of Castle Hill has increased by many in the community. However, safety is not compromised. Signage of hygiene reminders and social distancing are displayed throughout each track. Everyone is reminded to share the space safely with others in the community. At times like this, it is important for people of all ages and abilities to be active as possible. So go out there and visit your nearest walking track and keep moving and stay healthy. Reporting from Townsville, Australia, this is Laurie Kate Solomon. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Laurie, for sharing such a scenic walking trail. Have you ever tried food cooked in an earth pit oven? This is one of the most popular cooking methods still being used today, particularly in the Pacific region. Let's head on to Papua New Guinea, where correspondent Echo Horteleza Quinola will share more on this unique way of cooking without a stove. Echo?
When we talk about underground cooking, these words will surely enter our minds. So unusual, so unique, so ancient. Let me introduce to you the famous and traditional Papua New Guinea cooking method, the mumu. Yes, you heard it right, mumu. Mumu is a slow cooking traditional method in a pit or in an earth oven. It contains fiery hot coals that is formed by using firewood, heated rocks, and banana leaves or trunk that wraps around the pit.
Mumu is a traditional way of cooking whenever there's a special occasion.
Mumu is also regarded as their national dish, a staple food for them. Our Papua New Guinean friends invited us and demonstrated how their traditional mumu cooking is done.
It's a traditional way of cooking, so we do not use the modern utensils to cook. So it's naturally cooking from the ground with heated stones.
Digging a hole was the first step.
And then after the firewood all burned up, they have to move all the charcoals from the stones and then level the stones up, place some bananas, leaves.
Then washing all the ingredients. Fruits, vegetables, pork or chicken meat, and all the leafy greens. Place and arrange all the assorted ingredients and root crops. Place the more delicate ones on top. Put some water and cover it with soil. Let it simmer gently for an hour, or it sometimes depends on the quality of meat being prepared. With this process, all kinds of food inside will be cooked at the same time.
It's the custom way of Papua New Guinea and everybody loves eating from that mumu.
Mumu is often done during ceremonies, celebrations for weddings, birthdays, mornings, or just simply having friendly and family bondings.
Mumu, it brings people together.
Yeah.
Even though households in Papua New Guinea has modern ovens, cooking mumu in an earth oven pit still continues.
It tastes nice, tastes great.
Because it's cooked from natural soil. It has the nutrients in it, and I'd say it's much healthier than cooking from the saucepan. It brings people together to celebrate and to end any occasion.
Papua New Guineans believe that the taste of food being cooked in a mumu style is unique, healthier, and it brings a jam-packed family food hub in every bonding that they have. Reporting from Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Echo Hortaleza Quinola, Eagle News, we live in interesting times.
Many thanks for that, Echo. Food cooked the Mumu way is indeed a must try. And that ends our program for today. Thank you for watching Eagle News International Australia Oceania. Join us again next week as we share some stories from our viewers across Australia, New Zealand, and Papua New Guinea. Visit our websites on eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on twitter.com/eaglenews and on facebook.com/eaglenews. Stay safe, stay strong, and take care, everyone. From Melbourne, Australia, I am Dwight Albert Bololoy. Eagle News, we live in interesting times.